The Ross pedal JHS failure to launch and what we hope the other manufacturers can learn about it. So Johnny, you've been following this.
A little bit.
It's been it was sort of an epic launch and an epic sort of pullback failure from this Ross pedal launch that we just had. Now we're talking about what we want Fender, Gibson, Taylor, PRS, Martin, all the majors to maybe take note of. It's hard for them. You know, JHS is a small, fast, nimble ship.
They can bob and weave.
This thing, there was some bobbing and weaving here. We'll get into that in a minute. But what we want to take from this whole story, and we want you to stay tuned with us, because we're going to break it down pretty detail-wise if we can, as much as we can. What we want these other manufacturers to be able to learn to steer their giant cruise, mammoth, behemoth ships.
Yep.
And maybe not make the same mistakes they've been making for years ad nauseum, at least in our opinion. So that maybe is a good start, right? That helps.
Sure.
Let's get into what happened here. So JHS, they brought back the Ross pedal brand.
Ooh,
No, but they're big fans of resurrecting sort of dead brands that are like legacy, historic brands, and it's a really cool thing. So at launch, they sold 4,500 of these immediately. That's a lot of pedals.
Pretty good.
It's a lot of freaking pedals, especially at $180 a pop.
Yep.
That ain't a bad run.
No.
Famous for the compressors and some other zany things that not so famous for.
I didn't woman because we had different people in the shop that said they'd never heard of the Ross stuff. Some people had only heard the Ross compressor, so maybe not as prominent as Josh would have thought.
No, well, so they sold a lot. That's like 4,500 sold like when they launched it, and then they sold about 1,000 more leading to the end of last year. And then here's the rub though: from January until November of this year, 2024, they sold 331 units.
That's like dude made basements or pedals in his basement and launched them on like Reddit or somewhere.
Numbers.
And sold, and then you'd be like, okay, not bad,
So that's like really good if you're an independent sort of maker like that. This is still a small, great business. We love JHS pedals.
But they're a major pedal company at this point.
So that's just sales falling off the face of the earth. So he decided at that point to pull it from the dealers.
Yep.
And so, because and how it works, and he explains this. There's a great video on this too. I recommend watching it. It's wonderful. Video. It's like 15, 20 minutes. Totally worth your time. It's a great video. So the way it works, the pedal company will sell it to the dealers at a margin. Let's say we're a dealer. We buy JHS pedals. They sell it to us for X. We mark it up, $20, and you make a $20 profit on this pedal, maybe.
Right.
That's the idea, like whatever the margin is. It's a little bit higher on this. It's a $180 pedal. So they're going to pull it back and sell it directly only. And then they're going to sell it only at $99 now. So
it's 79, isn't it?
That's what they did first. They did that first. Yeah. And there was still no interest. And these are better than their 3 Series pedals as far as...
See, and I didn't realize that when we watched his video. I didn't realize they were, I don't know. Maybe that's my fault for not paying attention, but I didn't realize they were still made in Missouri, that they were really high-grade components. Yes, I didn't realize all that stuff necessarily.
Well, so then I want to try to get through the business part as quickly as possible. He's got to buy it back from the dealers at this point, which some ways you're going to buy it back physically, or you're just going to give them a discount and spread for their next buy from JHS.
Right.
And then you're going to rebate them almost, and they're going to sell the product. For now, he's selling them at $79. And he says cost on these pedals is around $76.50. So he's making $2. He's losing his shirt on this, is what's happening. But so in the whole thing, he found out there's 1,000 units left on dealer shelves, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a 1,000 unit buyback. It's expensive. So he had 5,600 units left there that he'd already built, 3,700 that were still outgoing to being built in, and 1,000 buyback. A lot of pedals, buying all back. It's a money loser, but here's the thing that they did. He decided he's just going to kill the brand.
Yeah.
And that's it. We've done it long enough. We got to stop now. So he goes on through a litany of like what he learned from it, but like we're going to sort of break that down. We don't have to do like whole 5-step litany. What he learned from is what we hope other major manufacturers can learn from this.
Yes.
This is a tricky thing to do. You get a lot of ego involved. You get a lot of time and energy. Your family's missing you when you're launching a new brand. You have to know the most important thing is if it's not selling, the market doesn't want it.
And when he said that, hey, sometimes the market just says no. That's super true. It doesn't matter how much you love the thing, how much you want it to succeed, how much you think it's historically valuable. If the market won't bear it,
Yeah,
it's not good.
And and then the process of discovery of enjoy of building it is a cool thing. But again, if the market doesn't want it, it can go into your marketing too. Directly correlates with it. I don't think this pedal itself was communicated really well.
Right.
And that's where we're going to jump into the major manufacturers in just a minute when we wrap this up. And also, is the market right? Is the timing right? This isn't COVID, where every new product launch is just going to blow through the roofs. And just making sure your communication of your product is accurate, and people know, because you didn't know what it was.
I didn't know, and I don't know, is the marketing bad, or is there just so many new things, so many things to consume, everything's coming out new, that you just cannot consume it all. So I didn't see Ross pedals and think, so I didn't look into it any further. So maybe it's just a scenario of that, and I think that probably affects all of us.
So yeah, we're
so many things.
We're over 5 minutes in this video now, and we've discussed pretty much, we were just wrapping, that's Ross wrapped up in a nutshell. Let's jump into what we think the other manufacturers can do. And a lot of this ties into this life cycle of product releases, and they've all fallen privy, and we think victim to this cycle and grab for quick, immediate money instead of the long haul of the brand, and sometimes the product itself. So now, almost ever since 2015 range, we've seen this increased NPI, new product introduction. Have to have a new product, and it sort of goes on a 4-year cycle if you notice it and you watch it through the business growth. You'll see let's just talk about Fender for a minute. American Pro. Then the American Pro 2 comes out. The American Ultra. The American Ultra 2 comes out. It's like you see a new product sort of roll that way. Gibson does the same thing. They'll do it with a rebrand of their traditional, their standard, in the Studio every few years. The Studio had the first major one just happen in a long time, which it needed. But this is sort of the cycle, and their lifeblood of these manufacturers have become NPIs, and then they have sort of high-end, low sort of boutique launches too that launch with it. But this has become the thing,
which is so weird. Like growing up, learning to play, it was the American Standard that would exist forever.
30
in
years.
My brain.
It was a 30-year
that
run.
was a thing. And then suddenly it's like, we're ditching it, and we're the American Pro, and now we're
And don't get me wrong, I think if you look at the spreadsheets of these companies, they're like, we're laughing all the way to the bank. I get it. They have made more money. I think there's a degradation in product awareness for us as the consumers in some ways. I don't know. I like there being different products and different things, Vintage 2s and Venteras and Noventas, and I have to memorize all these names, and Paranormals and Affinities, and if you gave us a test on all the different Fender things, it's a lot.
It's a lot of stuff, man. And how long can that? I just don't know if that. I know that right now they get a pop every time they do a new MPI, but I just don't know how long that can continue.
It's been maintaining for we're coming up on a decade almost.
I know.
I guess so that's become the thing, and I didn't see any pullbacks from Gibson doing either, and PRS does it as well. Yeah. So and then so does Taylor, and so does Martin, sorta, not as much. We'll get into that in a minute. So let's break them down for a minute. We talked about Fender for a little bit, right?
Yep.
So what would you hope from Fender? Give me your hope first. Yeah.
It's hard to say, right? But I'm trying to decide how much of this is me being an old man.
Being an old man, yelling at the clouds.
Saying no, I just want the American Standard forever. Part of me wants to
Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
It would be kind of cool. I think there's a legacy to that, which Mike Tyson told us that doesn't matter. So it doesn't,
Not talking about the fight.
So part of me wants that. Part of me wants those things to slow down enough that we can see what is actually good, what's not good, what do people enjoy. Let people know what's coming out. Let it be an event again. I feel like we get so many new things, it ceased to be a cool event.
And who was? It's almost like who was asking. That's the thing I learned from the JHS thing as well. Who was asking for this product, or who was asking for the American Ultra 2, or who was asking for this thing to come out when it does. Not saying it's a great guitar, but it doesn't. What is it needed in the market right now?
Right.
Is there a desire for it, or is it on the production calendar and schedule? And we know we have to do this every 4 years because that's what it says. Let's get into Paul Reed Smith for a minute. They have lots of new products, and they seem to be pushing the SE line really hard.
Yeah,
that's sort of their thing. They'll have I think some of their sort of failed product launches have been the NF3, I believe what it was, or it's because I see those on huge deep discount sales right now across the entire sales platform, which means it just didn't connect. It wasn't wanted.
Right.
And because it wasn't like, I don't think the price was wrong. I think it was priced right. I was like, that's a good price guitar. It's a decent guitar, just like it wasn't right. And I think they're probably being smart and probably pulling back on production there, but I still see them coming out. So I don't know.
I mean, I think the danger for these companies in this, and you know, you probably argue that this is just, you know, there's the idealism and there's actually making money for your stockholders. But from a guitar player perspective, right? Like if you're throwing all this stuff at the wall and you're not thinking through it and you're releasing it because of the schedule, not because it's ready or people are asking for it, I think you run the risk of having actual good products, good guitars, good pedals, good amps that don't catch on, that are counted as failures, you know, so to speak, just because they get lost, they fall through the cracks because there's too much stuff out there.
That's the thing we're talking. The buzz of so much release and so much product, and it's hard because like you guys missed you said you heard about the Ross thing, but you didn't really understand what it was.
Just, you know,
because that's right up your alley, right. You and Sean.
Yeah, it really honestly is simple. It's you know, sort of vintagey leaning.
We'll jump in the acoustic guitars for a minute. Taylor Guitars constantly has, I might give them a little credit here in a weird way for their failures, but they'll have new products come out, new guitar launches, and they'll sometimes know, all right, these aren't working.
This didn't work.
I've even had my rep there's like, I will not sell these guitars to any of my dealers anymore because I know we have a few, but I know they're going to sit on the shelves because they're cooked.
Right.
They're toast, and I respect that. That's a good rep.
That's
a good rep. He knows it. He sees the tea leaves like we do because he worked retail for 30 years. Right. And gets and worked it successfully and understood and managed not just Guitar Centers but all the Guitar Centers in like, you know, in an area, and kind of gets that. We've seen like, you know, the grand theaters sort of, I thought they were great, but they just didn't connect with the audience and the consumer in the same way.
Yeah.
And I think they're because everybody's been with Taylor's, everyone's like, I want a GS Mini built in the USA with a 1 3/4 nut width. They gave it to you. You just didn't want to pay for it because that's what the Grand Theater was. You know, that's it. It's a GS Mini built in the USA with a 1 3/4 nut width. But you didn't want to pay $1,600 for it. You know, it's a trick. And then you definitely didn't want to pay $4,000 for the Koa and the Rosewood 800 series ones, which were great. I thought that 800 series.
They were cool guitars.
Best sounding Taylors.
But it is a weird when you get people like just throwing out their dream, but then they're not actually ready to kick in on it. That's bad.
You know who does this really well in a strange way is Martin, because they just don't really come out with that many new zany things. I think they sort of know their lane and they stick with it.
Well, even when they do come out with the zany things, you still got your D28 and your D18 and your Triple Aught and your OM. I mean, like, those things are there and they're kind of untouched in a weird way. Maybe you get every now and again a modern deluxe version, but that was a big deal.
That's a great guitar. Or like the SC13, the 13 series guitars are cool guitars. Or David Crosby like smoking a joint painted on the guitar with some digital printing machine. That's kind of cool. It's funny and ridiculous and absurd, but we like it still. No, they've sort of stayed back. It's the majors that are like, we've entered this cycle, and I think you've all noticed it, where it's just, there's a new thing every bit, and it ain't COVID right now. You know, that's everything's sold during that. Like, and, you know, you have to be really careful about, like, you know, resurrecting old brands and bringing them out, or making, like, you know, the hammer tone pedals from Fender just sort of all caught us off guard. You're like, what are these? They're hideous looking. They don't sound great. I don't know if
the thing they replaced, I think, was much better. the previous Fender pedals,
those are
awesome.
Those are great pedals.
They were built well, man.
If you have one of those like sort of first generation Fender pedals that came out in 2020-ish, I think it was 20 or 19, somewhere there. They're great. What they opened up, they were like Strymon Fenders.
Yeah,
you know,
they were really
great.
Cool. They were great pedals all around.
It's a strange time right now just to be a guitar maker. Okay, remember a time when this is going to nerd me a bit, but when they're video game releases.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time when the record releases happened?
Yes.
And we'd all wait outside the record stores, and we'd wait outside the video game stores at 12 a.m. is when the releases came out. There was this magic that, I'm not saying you need to go back to these old analog days of that with this, but there was a scarcity of the releases. I think the frequency and the distance between them is getting so small. It's like our bandwidth is not great enough to get excited all the time.
Well, I mean, those things made it an event. Do you know what I mean? And you were excited about it. And you didn't get a new record from your favorite band. You know, you didn't drop a new single every other week. Like it's kind of like, you know, if you buy your kids a toy every week, they will throw them on the floor and not give a you know what. But if you spread it out a little bit, they'll cherish that.
Well, it's like, when PRS dropped the Silver Sky, that was a big event. It was a build towards that. And don't get me wrong, it's John Mayer and all, but like, hey, like, give us those big events, and like then you can. I don't want to be like a total lame business guy, but you can rest on your laurels a bit. You're making great products that are selling steadily. You don't have to have a fireball every 2 seconds. You're also not saying to us, "Oh, all this stuff was trash. We got to have this new thing constantly." And I think that maybe that's why the Gibson Garage is so cool. It's not saying, "Hey, we need all these new fancy guitars." No, we have this environment, this event place we've created for you to experience our guitars. They're pretty much staying the same. The studio, the standard, you know, and whatever. Well, and I think this whole thing also affects like us as players, you as players as well, your enjoyment of your new toy. Because like the brevity of the enjoyment can be shortened by the constant bombardment of, we got this new thing that you got to get right now, tomorrow. So cycling back to JHS and Ross right now, they made the brave decision to just kill it.
Yeah,
to kill it.
Smart.
And that's really cool. Like, and they could do it easily. You know, yeah, you've got lots of money tied up into it too. But scaled wise, it's the same as these major manufacturers when they launch something. You know, I wouldn't go, not when they build a new factory or something crazy like that, just to build a product that's probably not going to be that popular. We're not going to say who, but you know what I'm talking about probably. That's just be cagey for me for a minute. I'll leave it. No, but it's just. You just got, you know, this is the things, like, I love that these guys were so transparent.
Yes.
And like and it's a great show. If you haven't watched the pedal show and all that stuff, it's just you should watch. It's a great YouTube channel. It's a great thing. It's informative. They're great personalities. Their pedals sound great. This was an awesome inside look into the business side of things, which we sort of thrive on as well. And it's like that's cool that you had the guts to be like, all right, this isn't going to work. I'm gonna kill.
And then just to be like, well, here's what happened. And now you can go get those cool Ross pedals for $79.
I mean, I think you should get one. I think we should get on the internet after this and order a couple of those things, because I mean
the whole line would only be a few $100, but
yeah, $500 and you got the whole line now, if that.
Right.
But no, let's say so. Thanks for joining us. It's a crazy universe out there, the business cycles of these things. I know it takes these major manufacturers months and years to schedule and allocate and put resources, but they're starting to learn. Like, some of these companies are actually reaching out to us and saying, hey, will you guys buy these if we build them? And we're like, no. And they're like, cool, we won't build them. I'm like, that was easy.
I mean, that is actually
will you buy these if we build these? I'm like, yes. Cool, we'll build you some of these. Like, thank you. We will sell those now.
What's weird is when it's the inverse. Will you guys buy these if we build them? No. Okay, we're going to build them. Would you guys buy these if we were going to build them? Absolutely. We're not going to do that.
This happens more than I care to admit. I'm not going to say when and where. Sometimes things just show up and you're like, all right.
Oh, weird. That's strange.
That's weird. I thought these weren't
It's cool.
a thing. That's cool. I guess that's just how things are.
That's just how it goes.
Anyway,
Such is life.
So here's a little glimpse in there. Thanks for joining us. You spent 20 minutes of your day with us, and we really appreciate it. We'd love it if you want to click like and subscribe.
And hit the bell.
If you like this type of content, I've had a lot of fun doing this.
It's true.
I'm fascinated by the inner workings of the business. We have tons of this stuff coming out soon. Please stay tuned. Love your instruments, play your guitars. Don't get crazy by the crap floating in the universe out there. Peace be with you. Happy day.